Well, hello and welcome back. This is session number 4 of our Essential Skills course. And today we are going to be talking about communication. My name is ccohn, and here is my partner in crime, Sharon Hooper. Say hello, Sharon.
Hi, so glad to be doing another recording with you, Kara.
So today, Sharon, we are going to spend a little time unpacking how we communicate, not only with one another, but with ourselves. So we are going to talk a little bit first about interacting with one another, and then we're going to bring it back to how we are communicating and understanding how things are going on inside of our bodies, with our emotions, and with our physical being. So to get started, for our purposes, communication has about 5 different forms. We're going to talk a little bit about verbal communication. We're going to talk a little bit about nonverbal communication. We're going to talk about written communication, which is really not going to be our focus today. One of the most important aspects of communicating, which is listening. And then there's also visual communication, which is exactly what this is a demonstration of right now. So Sharon, if we're talking about verbal interactions between two individuals, it's so important for there to be sort of a flow and a rhythm to the way that the communication works. And in most circles, especially here in the United States, we have a tendency to allow one person to start, the listener to reflect back by making eye contact and showing that they're actually paying attention, and then the give and take of speaking, listening, taking in that information, and then offering back something that is on topic, appropriate, and timely. What do you think, Sharon?
Well, I'm kind of smiling because when you brought up listening, there's such a thing as active listening. So I don't want to go into detail, but so many of us in small groups are talking with somebody else instead of actually listening deeply to what they're saying. The other person who's listening is already formulating what they're going to respond as soon as that other person gets through talking. And sometimes they can't wait. So instead of responding to what you might be saying, I might be reacting instead of thinking through what you were saying and responding exactly to what you were saying. So it's really important. Listening is a really huge part of communication.
So, Sharon, what I think I'm hearing you say is how important it is to pause and allow the speaker to get their point across without the listener calculating already what they're going to
Oh
say.
gosh, Kara, I want to interrupt you because I want.
Perfect.
So, how did you feel when I just did that when you were explaining?
Well, so you know what? Here is a very good example of one of the things that I personally am working on, because I get so excited when I'm interacting that sometimes I have a tendency to interrupt, and that is not respectful. And it's not done out of, being disrespectful. I just get so elated and enamored by what we're doing that I want to share what I'm thinking of in that moment. And truthfully, that doesn't necessarily serve the person who's trying to get their point across, and it really doesn't serve me or anybody else who does that. So, super important, the whole aspect of listening. And sometimes the listening, when we actually share our comment back, immediately tells the person who is talking to us that we didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
That we were
So
trying to
true.
make ourselves so big and so powerful in that moment that we have really didn't get the point of what was being stated. But sometimes we just want to show off all our expertise in certain matters, or we just are trying to make ourselves feel better. We're all guilty of it. We all do it. And the very best thing is for us to just hold on and take a beat. Has that ever happened to you, Sharon?
I feel the same way you do. If I'm in a discussion with 3 or 4 or 5 people, especially, and there's so many topics going around the group, I just like have to bite my tongue because I've got this really exciting thought and this brainstorm that came up, and I just wait, 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 pick me. I want to talk now. So it's pretty funny that we can tend to do that. So Kara and I invite all of you really to maybe grab somebody in your family or a good friend and say, let's have some practice communication. Let's talk about XYZ, and I'll let you start and you say something about it, and I will listen carefully and respond back to what you said and said, is this what I heard you say? And then the other person can say, yes. And then I would say, okay, well, here's a thought that I have about that. So it might sound a little formal to go back and forth that way. And it's really, really good practice. So uh, please just do it. You can have lots of fun with your family.
So I want to go back and just touch on one aspect of that verbal communication, and that's eye contact. So when somebody is talking with us and we're just looking around, not giving them their proper due, it looks like we don't care. So even if eye contact is something that we struggle with, it's very important to give the listener and the speaker the respect that they deserve. So for those of us who don't really enjoy eye contact, I want to suggest that you look just past the person's eye, look at their ear, look at the way their hair is falling, but give them enough focus so that your eyes and your head are not bobbing around. And even if you're not really comfortable with the eye contact, work around it and attempt and practice making just enough contact with their body that they know that you're truly listening, even if you can't look them directly in the eye.
Good tip, Kara. I'd just like to add one caveat to that. There are a couple of cultures who do not look each other directly in the eyes when they're talking because that's a sign of disrespect. So I think it's really important for us always to be aware of who we're talking with or what group and the culture that we're in.
What a beautiful, beautiful idea to share. So that actually brings me to another kind of side topic, which is right now in the midst of COVID, we're doing a lot of interacting on devices. And when there's more than one person, it becomes very challenging to actually get attention. So if you're interacting on Zoom, I highly recommend using the hand raise, either by waving your own hand or using the actual hand at the bottom of your screen that you can toggle over. The other thing is that I want to take this now and broaden this to talk a little bit further about another kind of communication, which is nonverbal. So right now on Zoom, we are sharing tons of information with one another, and we may not even be meaning to. So Sharon is making a face right now. Do you see that? She's sort of scowling. She's looking a little perturbed. I'm reading her body language on Zoom and trying to get a sense of what I might be able to do to make her feel more comfortable. I want to point out that everyday communicating takes on a different tone depending on the environment. So if you're just saying hello, and you're saying hello on Zoom, and you're talking with your friends, the way that you greet one another is going to be entirely different
Hmm.
than if you're doing a Zoom call with your doctor and saying hello, or you're doing a Zoom call with a potential employer and you're saying hello. So you have to modulate your communication skills depending on who you're talking to, where you find yourself, and figuring out how to be appropriate. So the example that Sharon shared, where there are cultures that do not consider eye contact to be respectful, before you engage in any kind of conversations, you need to know your audience,
Good point.
right?
Absolutely.
So if I'm talking to some friends and I pretty well know who they are and what they're about, I have less of a tendency to need to really do any kind of digging. But if I'm going to do a job interview or I'm going to meet somebody because I have a project in mind and I want their support, I'm going to need to look differently. I'm going to need to show up differently. And I'm going to need to definitely curb the way I communicate because I want to come off in a professional manner or in a friendly manner or whatever the particular situation is. So, Sharon, what do you think about nonverbal communication? I think there's just so much to talk about here.
Well, this is my experience. If I'm in person or not doing that too much during COVID, but if I was walking up to a group, I would, I'm just in the habit of doing this, just kind of scanning how people are standing, whether they're standing straight, whether they're kind of doing, or whether they're kind of slumped over. So I kind of take a pulse, just a quick scan to find out where everybody is. And when I join a group, if in person, I will wait for a break in the conversation and say, "Hi, I'm so glad to see you all. I don't know a couple of you, but my name is Sharon Hooper. I live in Friday Harbor, Washington. I'm so glad to be here." So Zoom does create some real challenges for us. And I think we need to remember, kind of hard to do, just remember to be pleasant and smile a lot and use the hand raise. I love that idea. And let people know that we're really listening. So if I've got 6 or 7 people on a Zoom call, I want to show my body by my body language that I am really listening intently. So I might lean forward a little bit like this. I usually don't have a background on. So I lean forward a little bit and just kind of nod my head now and then because I understand what they're saying. So there are all different ways, or somebody could be speaking and I could go, and I might see somebody looking curious, or somebody might see me looking curious and say, "Sharon, do you have a question?" Because they've read my facial body expression and they could see that I indeed was looking kind of perplexed about something.
So it goes to show that human beings really don't need words to get a kind of a general hit about where somebody is. You can tell by their posture, as you described. You can tell by how groomed or not groomed they are. When you're in person, you can get a much better sense of this than you can on Zoom. It's super important to be able to read people. And what we have found in our own teaching about communication is that pretty much everybody, no matter whether they have a disability or not, which is what we've discovered, we are really, really good at reading body language and reading emotions. So, Sharon, if I make this face, tell me what you think I'm thinking. All right, you ready?
Okay. It looks like you're pretty darned excited about something. Maybe you just won the lottery, or maybe one of our clients just got a super fabulous job.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then what about this one?
Oh, definitely Halloween scary time.
Right.
Like,
Right. 2 for 2, lady. You got this. And then what about this one?
oh my gosh, take her out of her boredom before she falls asleep.
That's right. So you can see that even without us practicing ahead of time, Sharon was very, very capable of reading my facial expressions, not even really my body, because you can only see me from, almost the neck up here. So nonverbal communication is a clue. It's a huge clue into people that you are interacting with. And you can very well guess if there's something that you need from an individual and they are expressing themselves in a way that looks like, somebody's afraid or they're overly excited, or even if they're bored, if there's something that you need, you have to decide, is this the right moment? Or should I wait until a better opportunity to get what I want from this person? Because I can see just by looking at their face that maybe right now is not the best time to bother them. Have you ever felt
Good
that way,
point.
Sharon?
Yeah, and when I was growing up, I would always gauge the temperature, body language of my mother and father. If I wanted something, if I went to my mother and she looked a certain way, I might go, not going to approach that now. But I could scoot into the living room and look at my father, who's looking very friendly and relaxed, reading the newspaper. And I go, aha, I'm going to ask him because he looks really approachable right now. Okay,
So
that's a hint for any of you students or young people.
that's great. That's right. So we all learn how important it is to read people before we act on asking for something or getting something from somebody else. So
Can I bring
non-verbal,
up one thing, Kara?
please, absolutely.
Um, One thing that we didn't talk about, and I know that you have a short video to show, which I'll explain in a minute. One of the most important communication styles is how we communicate with ourselves and our
Yes.
self-talk. I know that from my own experience and all the people that I've coached before, we can get a thought in our head that might be a negative thought, like, I will never get this project done because it's taking so long and this happened and this happened. And that tape keeps playing through our head over and over. So, what we
Mm.
keep telling ourselves over and over is that I will never complete this project. And so, I would invite anybody who's listening to us that we change the negative self talk into a positive self talk. So, in the same project idea, it could be as soon as you hear that negative talk start, you change the tape and stop it right then. And you say, this is an exciting project. I am going to get through this and it's going to be wildly successful. So you can make it very, very short, or you can make it longer, like I just did, or this is a great project and I am winning. You can make up your own self talk about that. But self talk is so damaging to how we live our lives because when we've got negative tapes playing through our head, negative responses, I'm afraid of crowds, I'm afraid of going into this place, I'm afraid to wear my mask all day, I'm afraid to write this book, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. Every time we say that, we don't know if we can do it well or we have fear attached, we keep cementing that negative thought. I'm afraid, I'm afraid. So that's the way we always act. We act like we're always afraid of doing something or not winning because that's what our head keeps telling us. So, one of the important ways that we can start being very aware of where we are and how we're self talking is through mindful meditation. Kara, would you explain a little bit more about that and maybe play the video?
So one of the most important aspects of communication is connecting with ourselves and understanding where we are in any given moment, how our body feels, how our thoughts are directing us to take action or not. And what we want to do is want to give you a little overview about the importance of mindfulness in our everyday lives. I'm going to share the screen right now.
Thanks, Kara.
Mhm.
Welcome to Mindfulness Animated, a fun and helpful explanation.
We're still a little bit new at all this Zoom and sharing screen. I think what we both keep forgetting to do is click the share screen button and then start the video. I've done that a few times myself. So thanks for being patient with us.
It won't share, Sharon. I can't get it to share.
Okay, we'll have Garrett take out this whole thing that we just
This
did.
little moment. Let me try one more time then, if you were just going to try to keep it. Like nothing's happening. I don't understand.
So you click share screen at the bottom?
I obviously did that, yeah.
Obviously. And then if you, click the video. There you are. Okay, let's let it roll.
Here's our video on mindfulness.
Often it does both all the time. The question is, how can we make our brain stop and think about only the present, the state we are in, when we are in the zone or in the moment? Mindfulness is derived from the Eastern meditation, a practice of for thousands of years recognized to help humans control and tame our brains. Research has shown that, among other things, meditation can help depression and anxiety, reduce stress, reduce pain, while improving concentration and giving us more energy. Meditation has also been shown to improve relationships, increase creativity, boost immunity, and may even prolong life. The question is, how do you do this? Simple. This three-step approach is all you need. For 15 to 25 minutes every day, number 1, sit up. Number 2, close your eyes. Number 3, concentrate on your breathing or repeat a sound or word. And each time you notice that your mind is wandering, bring your thoughts back to your breath or sound or word. And if it wanders again, just bring it right back. Keep doing this until your 15 minutes has passed. I would use a meditation timer app on your phone or any timer. The more you do, the easier it gets. Many people notice their breathing slow during mindfulness meditation, and sometimes respiratory rates reduce dramatically, but this often confers benefits on mood and anxiety. Remember, each day will be different. Some days will be easier than others. Over time, you will notice that your mind wanders less, or that you can control it more as you begin to accept that it naturally wanders, but that you can bring it back to the thought at hand much easier. Once this happens, you will notice how much more time you have as your brain finds itself enjoying the present, the birds singing, the smell of the flowers, and the color of the leaves. You may start noticing subtle smiles and looks from people all around you. Welcome to Inner Peace. Thank you for watching. And please subscribe now.
Hi there, Sharon.
Hi, that great short 3-minute presentation maybe anybody who's listening might want to play that over a couple of times or a few times until you get kind of more handy with it. 15 to 25 minutes is great. However, if you can only start out with 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's good too.
That's
Just commit to do something and work yourself up to longer periods of time. I noticed when I was doing mindfulness meditation that I kind of had to start with just 10 minutes because, oh man, it is so hard to stop that monkey brain talking to you. Chatter, 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 chatter. The weirdest things come into your head when you're trying to be quiet. So it's taken me quite a lot of practice to get up to 15 or even 30 minutes. Sometimes I don't even want to come out of it because I'm in such a peaceful place.
So it's just like everything else. Once you practice it and continue to use it, it gets stronger and more prevalent in your life. Just like exercising a muscle gets stronger and stronger with use. And eventually we develop a memory around it. So I know that when I'm feeling a little scattered, I don't even have to spend 5 minutes. I can just momentarily just grab hold and say, wait a minute. I'm going to take a breath in and I'm going to watch my body as I inhale, and then I'm going to slowly exhale and pay attention to what's happening inside my body. And just the mere act of one inhale and one exhale suddenly transports me, it's going to bring me right back to the moment. So obviously the longer that you can maintain that, 15 to 25 minutes is ideal. But even if you are just feeling funky, you can grab your attention and bring yourself into the moment very quickly.
Remember what our parents might have told us, or even our grandparents, or way back to the beginning of time? If you get upset or hear something you don't like, or you have a strong opinion that you want to voice, or for any reason, train yourself not to do a thing, but to count 10 to yourself. And in that 10 where you're counting, you breathe in 3 or 4 seconds and breathe out 5 or 6 seconds. And so you do that in about 10 seconds, and it really will transform what you were going to react to and allow you to respond in a calmer way.
And one other tool that I'd like to present around communicating with ourselves is just a mindfulness check-in. So what I'm getting at is that we can start at the top of our head, and using our mind's eye with our eyes closed, we can scan all the different parts of our bodies, starting at the top of our head, and just making our eyes sort of shift back and forth. Am I holding any tension in my face? Am I holding any tension in my jaw? And then I'm going to work my way down and just notice. Am I holding any tension in my neck or my shoulders? And we're going to work our way all the way down to our toes. And we're just going to simply notice. And by the time we're done, we can identify there's a muscle group where maybe we slept funny, and we may just want to give ourselves a little self massage for a couple of minutes. Or we can talk to ourselves. Oh, I'm feeling anxious inside. I'm noticing that I'm anxious, or I'm noticing that I'm sad, or I'm noticing that I'm sleepy or hungry or whatever it is. And just by taking that second to notice, that's really the trick, I think, Sharon. So all these tools only work when we notice, and then we stop and we say, oh, wait a minute, I have a tool for this. And then we engage in nonverbal communication, or a way to listen better, or a way to look at our bodies and scan for little problem areas that we can do something about right then and there. Or if we're, sleepy, we could take a nap. Or if we're hungry, we can have a snack. All of these things are important because before we communicate, if we don't check in with ourselves, we may come off sounding angry or frustrated. We may give off the wrong idea when we're interacting with somebody, and that's not going to serve us at all.
Very true. Well, Kara, I've really enjoyed this discussion on communication. I think the bottom line is for all of us, for everything that we do in life, because life is all about communication. We are always communicating in some way with someone or somehow, or animals, or with ourselves. It's like communicate, communicate, communicate. So I think it's really important for all of us to be aware. And I think we should maybe put something on our computers, our telephones, wherever we're going to see it. It could even be a picture of a strawberry or a blueberry or our favorite animal, but just something that jogs us continually, just to create awareness about everything that we do and how we communicate and how we listen, how kind or not kind we might come across, how angry or not angry, how open we might be to somebody versus being closed and maybe aggressive to somebody's approach. I mean, there are so many avenues of communication. We could do hours and hours just on different kinds of communication and on mindfulness meditation.
So we encourage you to take some of these tools and give them a test drive, especially the mindfulness breathing. We look forward to hearing about how this is going for you. And Sharon Hooper and Kara Cohn will be back next session. We look forward to seeing you and being with you. And on behalf of Washington Vocational Services, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Kara.
Yes. Okay, well, that's